Hello there and welcome to another edition of The Big Q. Today we are talking about a special foundation that helps the young kids to understand more about the environment through music. But to speak more on this, of course, I'm joined by Mary Finaro. She is the founder of Omnipeace Foundation. Thank you very much, Mary, for making time to be with us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So take us through, what is Omnipeace Foundation?
So Omnipeace Foundation empowers youth living in Africa. I've been doing this for since 2007, and we have 9 schools. We have 7 primary schools in Senegal, Mali, and Malawi, and those were built within Dr. Jeffrey Sachs's, who is a very famous economist, the former head of the Earth Institute at Columbia University, inside of his Millennium Villages project, which is all about making villages self-sustainable after 5 years with the goal of ending extreme poverty by 2025. I think now that's 2030, but it's still in place. So that's what I was originally doing, and I thought my life was going to keep going in that direction. And then I came to Rwanda, and everything changed. So I came here to guerrilla trek, and after my trek, I had a cab driver who was driving me throughout the week that I was here. And one day he said to me, you know, I'm a musician in my church, and I would love for my son to learn how to play music. I know you build schools. I didn't tell him that I did that, so I think he probably Googled me, how everybody finds out about everybody today. And he said, will you build a music school here? Now that for me is like asking me to build a spaceship. Like, I am the worst musician. I am all things bad at music.
You have no music background.
I have no music background. I am like anti-talented. And so I politely declined. And I went back to the States. I'm from Los Angeles. And I ran into an old friend, and I had told him about Rwanda and the experience with the cab driver, and he said, that's exactly what you're going to do next. And he said, I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine. That friend just happened to be the person who raised funds for the Grammys, the Grammy Foundation. And so I went and I met with him, and he said, I'm in. And in about 6 weeks, we had raised over $50,000 worth of instruments.
Wow.
And those instruments were on their way to Rwanda before I had even committed to doing the project.
Oh, wow.
So literally, I was online, music schools for dummies. I had never done a music school before. But it was like God said to me, the instruments are on the way, and you better get on the way too, because this is happening no matter what.
Absolutely. So take us through first, you know, you mentioned the Sachs model. How does it work? Why did he come up with such, you know, an innovative way of educating the children?
Right. So his name is Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, and he came up with what's called the Sustainable Development Goals with Kofi Annan, which are the goals to end extreme poverty. And it's about going into a village and addressing all aspects of extreme poverty, which is you incorporate agricultural systems, water systems, education, hospitals, right? You build all of those things that give them the infrastructure to lift them out of poverty. And at the end of 5 years, the goal is to be self-sustainable. But what was interesting to me, and why I think I do what I'm doing today, is because he would always say, it's about the children. You have to educate the children. Like, the elders are the elders, right? But if you don't educate the children, then there's nobody to train the next generation who makes that model work. So I would always hear that in my head, you know, train the children, train the children. And so when I came here, and you know, the cab driver said, build a music school for children, we don't have any, and I thought, train the children. And so it's been an interesting development for me here, because it wasn't like I came here and there were hundreds of music schools, right? So it's been wonderful. It's been a little challenging, just because I don't think parents are used to you know, sending their kids to music school after school. So although it's a wonderful thing to do, I've been struggling a little bit to kind of get them to incorporate music into the child's life. We were talking earlier about the story.
Yes.
There's a musicologist by the name of Oliver Sacks, same last name as Jeffrey Sachs, and he would work with children. And there was one child who was autistic. He was very autistic, and they had to take him out of his family and put him in a hospital. And while he was in the hospital, a band had come and performed for the kids there. And the drummer had left his drum set. And the child was walking by and he saw the drums, and he walked in and he started to play. And he said the second that he started to play the drums, it was like his brain clicked into the right position that he had always wanted it to be, and everything was right. Wow. So it was like music, and it's been proven, changed the brain. And so it educates a child in a way that, you know, doing math all day doesn't, or doing history all day doesn't, right? It opens you up to be more connective. You know, when you're in a room and you're creating music, children who may be shy connect in a way that they maybe normally can't. They are better at math because you're counting. Everything is, you know, counting. And I think you're just better. It improves your overall basic education. So it's so critical in a child's life. And for coming from me to say that, who's a bad musician,
yeah.
But I still had it in my life. So it opened my brain in a way that allowed me to have a dream that I would otherwise never have in a million years. So it makes you more entrepreneurial. And I think it makes you believe in things you normally wouldn't otherwise believe in. Yeah.
That's true. So I know you also have, you know, the school in other parts of Africa, Senegal, Mali. How big, how successful are they today?
So they've been operating since 2007.
Oh, wow.
So we've trained or educated over 50,000 children. So, and then also, when the children are done going to school during the day, the elders go to school and they learn how to read and write at night. So it's just a constant, right? It's the school in the village, and it's the one place where they get educated, and then and it's primary, so it's 1st to 6th grade. So they're all doing great.
So in Rwanda, we come back to
back to
home.
All things lead back to Rwanda.
Yes. So now that you are in the country, how long have you been here?
Right.
You know, where are the schools? How do people join?
Yes. So I've been here for 5 years, 2016, and our first school was at Kwetu. I don't think it's no longer there, but that's where we first were, and we had children from Meg Foundation and Musicians Without Borders. And another great part of that story is when I was Googling music schools for dummies, how am I going to do this now? You got me into this.
Yeah.
I went to a lunch. I was in Los Angeles, and I went to a lunch. And I have lived in Los Angeles since I was 20 years old. And I was sitting next to a woman, and I said, "Hi, how are you? Where are you from?" And she said, "I'm from Rwanda."
Wow.
That had never happened before. And I told her what I was on my way to do, and I had no idea what I was doing. And she said, "Oh, you know what? That's okay, because my friend is there, and he's about to become head of Berklee College of Music Composition in Boston, and he will help you open that school." And I thought, you have to be kidding me. And sure enough, I came over, and he found the space, he found the kids, he found the teachers, and he helped me create something that I otherwise never could have done had I not been sitting next to that woman at lunch. So anyway, so we started there, and now we have our own school in Kachiru.
Yes.
I said that good, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
I'm picking up a little Rwandan. And we have 60 kids, and some of them are just from, you know, some kids just popping around the neighborhood. They see the big sign, the Rwanda Rocks Music School. We hold auditions once a year. And it's a 3-year program. So it's a 3-year accredited program. The curriculum is written by, his name is Richard Carrick, who was the gentleman that helped me open the school, who's now the head of music composition at Berklee. And so we're doing amazing. You know, our kids come in, and sometimes they're scared of their own shadow, and they're very quiet, and they they don't really have a voice. And by the end, it's like they're, you know,
out there.
Kanye West and Beyonce.
Yeah.
Now they have big voices and they sing beautifully, and they're happy and they look forward to coming. They come and they play, and it's like they do something beautiful together.
That's true. Now, so what age do you pick these kids from?
Yeah.
You know, is it from?
Yes. So it was originally 8, like 8 to 18. But then there are some kids that come in that are like 18 to 20 or 21, and they're so talented and they've trained themselves on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
And they're really good. So for me, for now, I don't have to be so structured and specific on the age, because if you have talent and you're committed and you want to show up, you know, after school twice a week, then that's okay. But for now, we're like, I think our youngest student is 8, and then our oldest is 21.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I also know that you work through the refugee camps. What
Yes.
refugee camp are you practicing this, and
Yes.
how successful
Yes.
is it today?
So, and another funny story about that is about 2 weeks that I had just opened the school, the first school here. One of my teachers said to me, he was from Musicians Without Borders, and he said, Mary, I just came from the Kaziba refugee camp, and there's a tiny little room there, and it's next to the library, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. You should open up a music school here. I hadn't even been open 2 weeks, and I said, I don't even know if this is going to work. I can't do another school. He said, that's okay. Just think about it. And I was on my way to the airport, and I stopped to get a bagel. And a friend of mine had said, you know, there's a great bagel shop. I thought, whoa, great. I've never had a bagel in Rwanda. And I had a Rwanda Rocks T-shirt on. And it was like a 17-year-old teenager behind the counter, and he said, are you Rwanda Rocks? And I said, yes. And he said, my father runs a program at the Kaziba refugee camp, and they were just talking about you yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So it was, right? The friend of my teacher, I said, oh, my, again, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So the father met me at the hotel while I was packing to get ready to go to the airport, and we kind of signed an MOU, and when I came back, which was about 2 months later, we opened the school at the refugee camp. And that was 2016. We had to leave for a minute, and now we just signed a partnership with UNHCR, with Minima, and now we're going to start our music workshops there in 2022.
Oh, that's when you start.
Yes. So we go back to start again.
Again.
Yes.
Yeah. The importance of music in children, how important is it? Because, I mean, we always push our children, you know, to do maths, to do physics, to play with toys, rather than listen to music. Why is it important?
Well, what I've seen and what I've experienced is that it opens up their minds in a way that is not opened in any other way. And there's something really beautiful that happens. It's almost like, you know, it's hard to explain. It's like they're plugged into a light socket, and something turns on that otherwise would not unless they were plugged in. And they, you know, they're composing music where they couldn't even write music before, right? So they're writing their own songs. And how we first taught them to play music was we would make them like tap on their knees and their shoulders and different parts of their body, and we would match the beats to a guitar, like you know, a musician playing a guitar or a drum. And that's how they started composing their first songs, and they would put lyrics to the songs. So they can do things like their brain starts operating on a totally different level that they would otherwise never be able to operate on. So it's something, you know, I truly believe it's like a part of the brain that stays dark until you listen. Until you listen and you turn on the light and you go, oh, wow. I didn't know that was there.
That's true, because, I mean, when you look at your website, you say the Rwanda Rocks music inspires, connects, and heals. How does, you know, when you try to connect inspiration and healing, you know, it's a different version. How do you have people who talk to the children as well, those who have trauma? How does it work?
So I think with obviously Rwanda and its history, healing is such a big part of this country. So music, when you listen to music, you know, it's incredibly healing. You can kind of go to a place, you know, in your own mind that you want to go, where you can go anywhere you want to go, you can be anywhere you want to be. It creates a form of healing that doesn't come medicinally, right? It comes in a way that you have to reach inside yourself and heal yourself. And in a country that is really all about healing, all about progress, all about humility and kindness and grace. So healing and music are almost hand in hand, right? They want you, it's almost like you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, that's true. Mary, before we went to break, of course, you're telling us the importance of music in children's lives. I know that you're planning the Rwanda Rocks virtual tour. What's this all about?
So the virtual tour that you can see online would be our 10th school.
Oh, wow.
Again, God willing. And the first primary and secondary music school in Rwanda. So now I am here this trip to meet with organizations and companies to start raising money to build that school. Because I'd like to, while I'm always, you know, at this place or that place or this place, I'd like to have our own home that that we, you know, where everybody knows where we are and they come, and it's primary, it's secondary school. It's like an official big music school, you know, big dreams. So
what are your future plans then, besides, you know, the rock school, I mean the virtual rock school of music?
Well, so the future would be that the virtual school becomes a real, becomes a brick and mortar real school. So now we're scouting locations. So I'm looking like at different properties for what would be the perfect place for the school. A friend of mine is joining me. So we may be building it next to a hotel, so it would act as entertainment for the hotel guests. So you know, the plans are at my 10th school. If I'm able to build this school next year in 2022, that would be, you know, that would have fulfilled many dreams over the last 10 years.
Absolutely. You know, maybe to those who want to join you, who are watching us, to the young ones who want to be, you know, be part of it, to even some of the sponsors, you never know.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. What would be your word?
The best part about this.
You know, where can they find you?
Yes.
And, you know, just encourage them.
Of course. So, Omnipeace.com. And there's an email address on there that you can email me directly for any information that you need, any meetings that you'd like to have while I'm here. I'm here for another 2 weeks. The children can contact me as well. The parents can contact me, and we come and we have meetings. And even though we've already had auditions for the following year, we still keep a list. And then if a student falls off or can no longer join, then we fill that space always. So, so it's just an ongoing revolving door of openness and music.
Absolutely. Maybe before I let you go, Mary, you know, startups are not easy. You know, to see them from creation to what you envision as a person. Right. You know, what has made you stick together? What has made that glue? What's that glue that's holding you through this startup that is quite amazing?
So I think I know the answer to that. My first trip here, I was sitting with a woman and I said to her, you know, I feel there's something about being here that I feel strange. I almost feel like I'm a little intoxicated. I'm a little obsessed with the country. There's something very special about this that I can't really put into words. And she kind of nodded her head and said, you're what we call Rwanda drunk.
Oh, wow.
And I laughed. And I was like, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard. What does that mean? And she said, that's what we call people like you, tourists who come and they get intoxicated with our country. And that feeling is the feeling that drives me here, that keeps me coming back, and that makes me want to stay and continue to grow and build and educate music and our children, you know, with a music education. And, you know, we want to build a whole platform, infrastructure of music in the whole country. So music is mandatory in becoming part of the curriculum. Yes,
amazing.
that's my goal. Build a school and have music be part of a music part of the curriculum here.
Well, thank you very much, Mary, for making time to be with us.
Thank you for having me.
And all the best.
Yes, thank you.
Well, as usual, my name is Fiona Mbabazi. Thank you very much for joining us. Have yourselves a good day.